My fiancé said another man was most attractive at our engagement party. I asked for the ring back. The soft glow of fairy lights strung across our living room ceiling cast a warm, inviting ambience. Classical jazz hummed from a hidden speaker, mingling with the easy laughter and clinking of glasses. This was it, our engagement party. Not some grand, stuffy affair, but an intimate gathering of our closest friends and family. Exactly what Sarah and I had dreamed of. Alex, stood by the makeshift bar, pouring myself a whiskey, feeling a contentment so profound it almost hurt. At 32, a software engineer with a stable career and a modest but comfortable life, I felt like I had finally built something truly special. And Sarah, my incredible Sarah, was at the heart of it all. She floated through the room, a vision in a simple, elegant emerald dress that made her eyes sparkle. Her laugh, bright and melodic, drew people in. Sarah, 30, a marketing manager with an effortless charm, had a way of making everyone feel seen, feel special. I watched her, a silly grin probably plastered across my face, thinking, this is it, the beginning of everything. Our future, laid out perfectly before us. A lifetime of quiet mornings, shared dreams, and comfortable silences stretched ahead, perfect and pristine. My best friend, Ben, clapped me on the shoulder, pulling me from my reverie. Ben, 35, more like an older brother, had been my rock since college. He scanned the room, a knowing smirk playing on his lips. Looks like you snagged a good one, pal. Sarah's practically glowing. Tell me about it. I chuckled, my chest swelling with pride. Over by the fireplace, I saw Leo, 34, animatedly telling a story, surrounded by a small group. Leo, a tech entrepreneur, was all sharp suits, perfectly styled hair, and a charisma that could fill a stadium. He carried an aura of effortless success, always with the latest gadget or a story of a daring investment. He was a mutual acquaintance from our college days, now more of a friend who occasionally popped up in our social circles. Honestly, I found him a bit much, too loud, too flashy, but harmless enough. Leo caught my eye, raising his expensive-looking glass. Alex, my man, great party. Sarah, you've outdone yourself, he called out, his voice cutting through the soft music. Sarah giggled, blowing him a kiss across the room. I just offered a polite nod, dismissing any fleeting unease. He was just being Leo. As the evening wore on, the wine flowed freely, and the atmosphere grew even more relaxed. Someone suggested a game. Truth or dare? A voice shouted, and the idea quickly caught on. A ripple of excited agreement spread through the living room. I initially rolled my eyes. Aren't we a bit old for this? But the cheerful buzz from the drinks, the warmth of Sarah's hand in mine, and the sheer happiness radiating from everyone convinced me. Why not? It was just a game. The early rounds were light and silly. Embarrassing childhood stories, ridiculous dares like mimicking a cat or singing a pop song off-key. Everyone was laughing, feeling loose and carefree. I was having such a good time that I barely noticed when the questions started to get a bit more personal, a little more pointed. The whiskey in my glass felt warm and comforting, blurring the edges of my self-awareness. What could go wrong? We were among friends, after all. Then came the question that would shatter my perfect evening. Our friend Mark, grinning mischievously, turned to Sarah. All right, Sarah, truth or dare? Truth, she said without hesitation, a bright smile on her face. Mark paused for dramatic effect. Okay, Sarah, out of all the guys in this room right now, who do you honestly find the most attractive? I absently swirled the whiskey in my glass, my mind already drifting to tomorrow's golf game with Ben. The question barely registered. It was just another silly party game moment. Then I heard it. Leo. One word. Just one simple word from Sarah's lips. And everything stopped. The jazz music in the background, the convivial hum of conversation, the clinking of ice in glasses. It all faded to a dull, distant buzz. My chest tightened, as if someone had wrapped a steel band around it, squeezing the air from my lungs. Did she actually just say that? Did my fiancée, on our engagement night, in front of our entire group of friends and family, just tell them she finds Leo more attractive than me? I forced myself to take a slow sip of my drink, the amber liquid suddenly tasting bitter. I tried to keep my expression neutral, my face a mask of casual indifference. But my eyes, involuntarily, drifted across the circle. There he was, Leo. He was looking down at his phone, a slight, almost imperceptible smirk playing on his lips, seemingly unaffected by Sarah's answer. Or maybe completely aware and deliberately ignoring it. The game moved on. Someone else took their turn, a loud laugh erupting from the far side of the room. But I wasn't listening anymore. My mind was spinning, replaying every interaction between Sarah and Leo. The way she'd laughed just a little too hard at his jokes at our last barbecue. How she'd mentioned running into him at the coffee shop last week, an innocent enough comment at the time, but now it echoed with a sinister undertone. Were there signs I missed? Had I been blind? I watched Sarah's profile as she continued chatting and laughing, seemingly oblivious. She didn't even seem to realize what she'd done. How could she not? If she'd asked me the same question, I wouldn't have hesitated. She was, and is, the most beautiful woman in the world to me. Isn't that how it's supposed to be when you're engaged? When you're about to commit your life to someone? The whiskey in my hand felt like poison now. I set my glass down, perhaps a bit too hard, because Sarah glanced over at me, her smile faltering slightly, like she was finally picking up on my mood. But then, almost instantly, she turned back to the game, leaving me alone with my thoughts, trapped in my own personal hell of doubt and insecurity. Leo, why him? The question kept pounding in my head like a relentless hammer. He was an old college acquaintance, someone I barely considered a close friend, certainly not someone I'd ever imagine in this context. We're supposed to get married, but I'm not even the most attractive guy in the room to her. My phone buzzed, a text from Ben, asking if we were still on for golf tomorrow. The normalcy of it felt absurd. How can anything be normal when I'm sitting here, wondering if my fiancée is settling for me, if she's secretly wishing I looked more like Leo, had his kind of ambition, his kind of flash? The rational part of my brain tried to intervene. It's just a game. She's had a few drinks. It doesn't mean anything. But that small, insidious voice that lives in the back of every man's mind wouldn't shut up. If she finds him more attractive, what else does she prefer about him? His job? His confidence? His lifestyle? I caught my reflection in the dark apartment window, my slightly loosened tie, the early signs of crow's feet around my eyes, the hairline that wasn't quite what it used to be. When did I start looking so ordinary? Is that how Sarah sees me now? The party continued around me, but I was utterly alone, adrift in a sea of gnawing uncertainty. Every laugh seemed too loud. Every whispered conversation felt like it might be about me. And through it all, one thought kept circling. We're supposed to get married. But I'm not even the most attractive guy in the room to her. I needed to talk to her about this. Not now, not in front of everyone, but soon. Because right now, everything I thought I knew about our relationship felt like it was built on sand, and I was watching it slowly wash away. The remaining hours of the party stretched into an agonizing eternity. I tried to fake it, I really did. I poured myself another whiskey, engaged in small talk, even managed a few forced laughs. But beneath the surface, a cold dread was setting in. Every time Sarah glanced at me, her smile seemed too bright, her eyes too innocent. Did she truly not understand the seismic shift that had just occurred? Or was she simply choosing to ignore it? I excused myself at one point, stepping onto our small balcony. The cool night air did little to calm my racing thoughts. My mind, usually so methodical and logical, was a whirlwind of anxieties. I started replaying every interaction, searching for clues, for justifications, for anything that would make sense of what Sarah had said. There was that charity gala a few months ago. Sarah had been so excited about it, saying it was a huge networking opportunity. I remembered seeing her across the ballroom, captivated by a conversation with Leo. She had been laughing, her head thrown back, her hand occasionally touching his arm. Small, innocent gestures, I told myself at the time, common in a social setting. But now it felt different. It felt like a performance, a silent audition. When I joined them, the conversation quickly shifted to work, and Sarah had beamed, telling me how brilliant Leo was, how he just gets things done. I dismissed it as professional admiration. Now, it was a bitter memory twisting in my gut, and the random run-ins at the coffee shop or the gym. At first, I thought nothing of it. We lived in the same neighborhood, shared some mutual friends. But then she'd mention it again and again, always with that same light, dismissive laugh. Oh, bumped into Leo again. What a coincidence. Now, the frequency seemed less coincidental and more deliberate. Had she been subtly trying to hint at something, or had she simply been enjoying the attention? I sighed, leaning against the cool metal railing. I'd always considered myself a stable, reliable partner, someone who worked hard, provided, and built a solid foundation. But Leo had that flash, that undeniable charisma, the kind of success that screamed, "I'm going places." Had Sarah, with her ambitious marketing career, secretly yearned for more? For someone who could match her drive, or even surpass it, in a way she perceived I couldn't? Just then, the sliding glass door opened, and Ben stepped out, carrying 2 fresh beers. He handed one to me without a word, his gaze meeting mine. There was no need for words. His eyes, usually crinkling with good humor, were serious, filled with a quiet understanding. "Rough one, huh?" Ben said, his voice low, almost a murmur. I just nodded, taking a long swig of the cold beer. The bitterness was a welcome distraction from the turmoil in my mind. She said, "Leo," I finally managed to croak out, the words tasting like ash. Ben didn't pretend not to know what I was talking about. He just took a thoughtful sip of his beer. "Yeah, I heard." He paused, then added, "You know Leo's reputation, right? He's not exactly a long-term guy. More of a flash in the pan. Impressive, sure, but he burns bright, and then he's gone." My jaw tightened. That didn't make me feel better. If anything, it made it worse. It suggested Sarah knew that, yet still singled him out. It felt like a double slap. Not only did she find him more attractive, but she found a known playboy more attractive. What did that say about her perception of me? Of our relationship? Was I just the safe choice, the reliable, boring guy she was settling for? Just then, Sarah poked her head out onto the balcony, her voice bright. "Boys, what are you doing out here? The party's winding down. Come on, let's get this place cleaned up." I forced a tight smile, trying to act normal. "Just getting some air, babe. Be right in." As we walked back inside, I caught a glimpse of Aunt Carol by the coat rack, her face etched with that familiar, slightly judgmental curiosity. Aunt Carol, my mother's sister, was known for her blunt observations, usually delivered under the guise of just being honest. As she gathered her things, she caught my eye. "Alex, dear, you're looking a bit pale," she said, her voice a little too loud, drawing Sarah's attention. "And tell Sarah, that Leo is certainly quite the catch, isn't he? Always admired a man who knows how to make money. Very driven." She patted my arm with a little too much emphasis. Completely unaware of the knife, she just twisted deeper into my already bleeding ego. Sarah smiled sweetly at her, seemingly oblivious to the subtext. I just managed a strained laugh, wanting nothing more than for everyone to just leave. The party felt like a cruel charade now. Every laugh, every conversation, every well-wish seemed to mock me. I watched Sarah moving around, gathering empty plates, her movements graceful and unburdened. How could she be so normal? How could she not feel the immense weight of what she had unleashed? My stomach churned, a knot of resentment tightening with each passing moment. I felt like a stranger in my own home, a guest at my own execution. By the time the last guest left, the apartment felt unervingly quiet. The remnants of the party, scattered glasses, half-eaten appetizers, crumpled napkins, seemed like evidence of a different evening entirely. One that had ended hours ago, when everything was still perfect. The silence screamed, amplifying the chaos in my head. Sarah hummed softly as she started collecting plates, a relaxed smile on her face. She looked so innocent, so carefree. It only made the anger fester. "Okay, let's get this place tidied up, then we could just relax," she said, her voice light. I watched her, my hands shoved deep into my pockets. Relax? How could I possibly relax? The alcohol was wearing off now, leaving behind a growing sense of dread, like the heavy calm before a storm. I knew we needed to talk. I knew it had to happen now. But I was scared. Scared because deep down, I thought I knew exactly what had changed everything. And I didn't know how to fix it. If it even could be fixed. Sarah, I said, my voice cutting through the quiet hum of the dishwasher. She was at the sink, rinsing plates, her back to me. We need to talk about what happened. She turned around, a plate still in her hand, a flicker of confusion in her eyes. What do you mean? What happened? She tried to sound casual, but a subtle tension crept into her shoulders. Why did you say Leo? The question came out calmer than I felt, my voice dangerously steady. Out of everyone in that room, why him? She rolled her eyes, a dismissive gesture that ignited a spark of irritation in my chest. She reached for a wine glass, as if my question was just an annoyance. Oh my God, are you seriously upset about that stupid game, Alex? It was just truth or dare. You're being ridiculous. Answer the question, Sarah, I insisted, leaning against the counter, maintaining unwavering eye contact. There's nothing to answer. I was drunk. It was a stupid party game. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? Her voice rose, tinged with a familiar defensiveness. Okay, I said, my voice still level, but with an underlying edge. Let me put it another way. If I had said I found Chloe, or your cousin Emily, or any other woman in that room, more attractive than you, how would you feel? Her scoff was instant. That's different. How? How is it different? I pushed. Explain it to me, Sarah, because I'm not seeing it. It just is. And anyway, Chloe does have bigger. She started, her eyes darting away, trying to deflect. Stop. My hand hit the counter, not hard enough to break anything, but loud enough to make her jump, the plate rattling in her hand. Don't deflect. This isn't about Chloe's attributes or anyone else's. This is about respect and what we say publicly about each other. She threw up her hands, exasperated. You're being insecure. I've never seen you like this before. Since when do you care about who I find attractive in a stupid game? Since my fiancée announced to our friends and family that she finds another man more attractive than me. I retorted, my voice staying level, but the edge was sharper now, cutting through her protests. You still haven't answered why. Not why you said it, but why you think it's okay. Because it doesn't deserve an answer. You're turning a stupid party game into this whole dramatic thing. I'm with you, aren't I? I said yes to marrying you, didn't I? She looked at me, a desperate plea in her eyes, as if that simple fact should erase all my hurt. And that's supposed to make it okay? I laughed, but there was no humor in it, only a bitter irony. You're missing the point entirely, Sarah. She started pacing, her voice rising in indignation. No, you're missing the point. This is insane. We were having a perfect evening until you decided to get all weird about nothing. Nothing. I slammed my hand on the counter again, harder this time. Let me break this down for you, Sarah. When you're engaged or married, there's an unspoken agreement, a sacred trust. You don't publicly rank other people above your partner in terms of attraction. It's basic respect. It's about valuing your partner, not humiliating them. Her eyes narrowed. Oh, so now I'm disrespectful? Maybe if you weren't so insecure. Stop. I cut her off again, my voice a low growl. Stop trying to make this about my insecurity. This is about your behavior, your judgment, and your inability to take responsibility for it. This isn't some fleeting moment of drunken silliness. This is a pattern. I pushed off the counter and stepped closer to her, forcing her to meet my gaze. Remember that business trip last year? The one to Chicago? You happened to run into Leo at that fancy dinner, didn't you? You came back, buzzing for a week about his brilliance, his vision, his ambition. You dismissed it as professional networking, but you spent more time talking about him than the entire conference. I saw it then, but I ignored it. Dismissed it as your drive, your admiration for success. But now it's all connected. Sarah's face, which had been a mask of defiance, began to crack. She looked away, her jaw clenching. That was different, Alex. That was work, professional connections. Was it? I pressed, relentless. Or was it another opportunity to compare? To measure me against someone you admire more? Someone who, apparently, embodies some quality you find lacking in me. The silence that stretched between us was suffocating. I could see her mind working, furiously trying to find another angle, another way to twist this, to blame me. But I was done letting her deflect. "Here's what I know," I said, my voice quiet, almost mournful. "You found it completely natural to say another man is more attractive than me in front of our friends. When confronted, instead of acknowledging how that might hurt me, instead of apologizing, you've tried to dismiss it, deflect it, and make me feel crazy for caring. So tell me, Sarah, what am I supposed to think about our future? About our marriage?" My heart ached with every word, but my resolve hardened. This was no longer just about a comment. It was about the fundamental trust, the core respect that held us together. And in this moment, it felt like it had vanished into thin air. "I can't believe this is still going on," Sarah burst out, her voice cracking, her initial defiance crumbling into frustrated desperation. The kitchen, once so inviting, now felt too small, too hot, suffocating us. "You're being completely unreasonable, Alex. I've told you 100 times, it meant nothing." "Nothing? Really? Nothing?" My eyes fixed on hers, and I could see a flicker of something new there. Not just anger, but a profound sadness, a betrayal I hadn't thought possible. "So you just randomly said his name out of all the guys there? You were drunk, you said. How many times do I have to?" "That's exactly my point, Sarah. You were drunk. And drunk people often say what they're really thinking. What's buried beneath the surface, the unspoken truths that sobriety keeps locked away." My stomach dropped. Her eyes widened, a dawning horror in their depths. "What are you implying?" "I think you know exactly what I'm implying." My voice was deadly quiet now, stripped of all emotion, raw and cold. "So, you have a hots for Leo? Is that what's been beneath the surface this whole time? All those random encounters, all those glowing remarks about his ambition, his drive? You're being ridiculous." Her face flushed with anger, but it was laced with a new kind of fear. "Am I?" I pushed off from the counter, stepping directly in front of her. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks pretty clear. You find him more attractive. You laugh at all his jokes. You randomly run into him at coffee shops. You praise his career, his lifestyle. Are you seriously suggesting I'm making this up?" "I'm not suggesting anything. I'm stating facts. And here's another fact. When people are tipsy, their true feelings come out. So tell me, Sarah, if the opportunity came up with Leo, would you take it?" "How dare you?" Her voice was a furious whisper, her face burning. "I would never, never, never what?" I cut her off, my voice rising slightly. "Never cheat? Never monkey branch to someone you find more attractive? Because that's exactly what this feels like, Sarah. It feels like you're settling for me, while keeping your options open. Keeping a backup plan, a more exciting option. That's insane. You're twisting everything." Tears welled in her eyes now, but I could tell they were tears of frustration and anger, not remorse. "No, you're the one who's been twisting everything, trying to make me feel crazy for having a completely normal reaction, making me out to be insecure when you're the one who couldn't even pretend to find your fiancé the most attractive man in the room." I felt a cold panic rising in my chest. This had gotten completely out of hand, but there was no turning back now. The words, once unspoken, were free, hanging heavy in the air between us. "Alex, baby, please," she pleaded, reaching out a hand, her voice breaking. "You're blowing this way out of proportion. Let's just go to bed and talk about this tomorrow when we're both calmer." "I'm perfectly calm," I said, my voice chillingly devoid of emotion. I reached into my pocket, my fingers brushing against the familiar weight of my wallet. Then my hand moved, pulling out the small velvet box. My heart stopped when I saw what I was doing. I was taking off my watch, the one she gave me for Christmas, and placing it on the counter. A small, symbolic gesture. Then, with a slow, deliberate movement, I extended my other hand. "I think you should give me back the ring." "What?" "No." She stumbled backward, eyes wide with horror, as if I'd struck her. "You can't be serious. Over one stupid comment." "No," I repeated, my voice steady, my gaze unwavering. "Not over one comment. Over what that comment revealed. And more importantly, how you've handled it since." You've shown me exactly who you are tonight, Sarah, and it's not the woman I thought I was going to marry. Alex, please. Her voice broke, tears finally coming in earnest, streaming down her face. I love you. You know I love you. Do I? I challenged, my voice betraying no softness, no sympathy. Because someone who loves their partner doesn't do what you did. They don't humiliate them in front of friends and family, then try to make them feel crazy for being hurt by it. They don't subtly compare them to others or pine for a different kind of life. You're ending our engagement over this. This is insane, she cried, her voice rising in a desperate wail. But her tears had no effect on me. Her face, usually so expressive, was now a mask of pure desperation. The ring, Sarah. My voice was a command, absolute and unyielding. Now, with shaking hands, she slipped off the engagement ring. The diamond, once a symbol of our bright future, caught the light one last time before she placed it, cold and heavy, in my outstretched palm. You'll regret this, she whispered, her voice hoarse, trying one last time. You're throwing away everything we have over nothing. No, I said, pocketing the ring. I'm saving myself from a lifetime of doubting whether my wife truly wants to be with me. I'm saving myself from a marriage built on a foundation of hidden resentments and public disrespect. I'm saving myself from a constant internal battle that would tear me apart. I turned, walking away from her, my back ramrod straight. The apartment felt suffocating, filled with the debris of our broken dreams. The sound of her choked sobs behind me was like a physical blow, but I forced myself not to waver. Then something snapped inside her. You want to know the truth? She shrieked, her voice cracking with fury, venom dripping from every syllable. Yes, Leo is more attractive than you. He's more successful too. And you know what? Every time I saw him at the gym or got coffee, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed how he looked at me, how he made me feel desirable. Not like some possession to be controlled, some boring, predictable life partner. Her words poured out, ugly and raw, stripping away any pretense of innocence. All the hidden resentments, the unspoken criticisms, came bubbling to the surface, confirming every suspicion I had ever had. You're pathetic. You know that? She screamed, her voice echoing in the now too silent kitchen. So fragile that you can't handle one honest answer in a stupid game. What kind of man throws away a 3-year relationship over something so trivial? You're proving exactly why I should have looked elsewhere. Have fun explaining to everyone how you ended our engagement over a party game. I'll make sure they know exactly what kind of insecure, controlling person you really are. And you know what? Maybe I will give Leo a call. At least he's man enough to handle a strong woman. I stopped at the edge of the kitchen and slowly turned around. The cold, almost pitying smile that spread across my face made her freeze mid-rant, her eyes wide with a sudden, dawning comprehension. You know what? Thank you, I said, my voice chillingly calm, every word deliberate, precise. Thank you for showing me exactly who you are before I made the mistake of marrying you. I just dodged a bullet that would have made me miserable for years before inevitably ending in divorce when you finally cheated. How dare? She began, but I cut her off. Oh, and about Leo? I continued, a bitter, humorless laugh escaping my lips. Go ahead. Call him. You know what he does with women like you? Uses them for a quick hookup and throws them away like tissue paper. Ask around. There's quite a club of desperate women who thought they were special to him. You'll fit right in. My gaze held hers, seeing the dawning horror in her eyes as the full implication of my words and Leo's true reputation sank in. The man she secretly admired, the one she compared me to, was nothing more than a predator. And let me make something crystal clear. I added, my voice steel. Don't even think about trying to reconcile when that inevitably happens. Don't even look in my direction. Don't try to contact me. Don't send friends to plead your case. We're done. The woman I thought I loved never existed. She was just a mask hiding this. I gestured at her dismissively, my hands sweeping through the air between us. Now, get out of my apartment. My words hit her like physical blows, but I was already walking away, heading towards the quiet sanctuary of my bedroom. The sound of the bedroom door closing, a soft click that resonated like thunder in the silent apartment, felt like a final period on the sentence of our relationship. I left her standing alone in the kitchen, amidst the wreckage of a party that had promised so much and delivered only shattered illusions. The cold, hard truth was out, and the silence that followed was deafening.